one of the big things that I learned in this whole romance thing is a series is king. Because you sell that first book, and you guys know are you all self-published? Any traditional? Okay. You sell that first book, and that first book is a gateway drug. And it goes to the next book, and the next book, and the next book. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about things you don't want to do in a series, or things that you've seen other authors do successfully, but they're one-outers. They're just outside the run. So why write a series? I'm done with it. Pros and cons, some decisions to make up front, the tools, final takeaways, and a Q&A. Okay. And I usually over talk at the beginning, and then I get to a slide and I've already talked about it. So this whole cancer thing started in 2007. Got the remission, kept getting crap like the arm. But I started writing again. I'd sit down every Saturday morning and write, And I sold 3 articles / essays that year, and I thought, this writing thing's a breeze. This is gonna be easy as pie, great. I got my husband on board, so I can do this, He's like, whatever. So I kept submitting, I kept writing, I kept submitting, and those 3 were kind of like a fluke or God's gift to me to say, keep going. I didn't sell anything for 5 years. Then I started selling little romances to the Trues. And you ladies might know, your mothers might have done the Trues, True Romance, True Story, True Confessions. Ooh. Those were fun to write, because I could think about them as I'm driving home. I write the story, I send it off, it sells, it doesn't sell, whatever. But I had some publishing cred now, because somebody had liked my writing enough to pay me money for it. Not big money, but money. Told you I started attending romance, I started sending out romances. I had the Bull Rider's brother, this close to be picking up the Harlequin. But they said I had too many people in my community. So I thought, what do you mean? It's like, you have to have mom, you have to have dad, you have to have this, you have to have that. And then there's the neighbor next door, and then it's like, no. It's just like, maybe you should try something else, like cozy mystery. It's like, oh, I could have a big community with cozy mystery. So I did sell that romance. I was the high seller for Crimson Romance on their launch week. And I said, so what's a high seller? I'm thinking, oh, here comes the money. 25. But it got me my cred again in romance. 1, I had sold the book, and 2, they did some kind of probably book club or something for it. I hit that magic $1,000 in sales that made me move from an amateur into pro for them. So it was all steps. And then I was working this group. This group had a contest, but it was for everyone. Anyone who could send in the first 3 chapters of their, romance, and you'd get a contest, and you'd get a little heart, because we get the golden heart. It was the big one, but this was our little chapter one. And we had 6,000, entries into this thing. It was crazy. It supported the chapter. It brought speakers in. We had big speakers come in. We have agents from New York come in, because that's what you did. Because if you got down to that 1 to 3 level, you got sent to an agent or an editor. And then the editor would pick, this is the winner out of this is the winner out of that, whatever. So yeah, they got the plaque, they got the whatever, but the big win for them as a writer, as a new writer, would be to get in front of that agent, get in front of that editor. So I took on that project. I took on that for the year, which was crazy. But at the end of it, I had some contacts, and I had one contact. I had written a cozy mystery. I had sent it to everyone. I'd sent out all the submissions and to all the agents, and they all either ignored me or said, thank you very much, not for me. So I had this one editor who worked for Kensington, who I'd worked with on this contest. And I said, hey, I have this book. It has serious potential. Would you be interested in seeing it? Because they still take unagented submissions. They did, and they still do. So she said, sure, because she knew I was so crazy because I'd worked with her on the other stuff. And she was building her block. She was a new editor. And then she emailed me and said, hey, you said this might have serious potential. What do you think? And so I outlined the two little blurbs about what the next two books would be and hit send and sent it off. And when she sent it back, I said, I think I sold my first book. And I had. I made my first cozy. I got a 3-book contract. The kicker was, I wasn't a mass market. I wasn't in this. I wouldn't be in Barnes & Noble automatically. I wouldn't be in Borders because it was still there, maybe. And I wouldn't be in all of the normal channels. I was going to be an e-first author because they were starting this new thing about ebooks. So this is my first book. This is Guideposts to Murder. This is the book that got me my New York Times best-selling author cred. It will also be on my husband's tombstone. Husband of New York Times best-selling author. He doesn't know, well, he does know. He says he's living longer than I am. So he's got that settled. They did 3, I've got all 3 up here. They did the 3, they got a deal on all the pictures. The thing about Tourist Trap is each of the books has, the cover is building a new business in that town, in my fictional town. So all of my covers are doing different things like that, but this one, that's the background on that one. That hit the New York Times list. That series has also hit USA Today on release. It isn't anymore, I'll be honest, it isn't anymore, but it has. So, I have a USA Today cred as well. So why the series? For me, it was because I had too many damn people in my books. They couldn't be romances because I like people. I like those characters. And you get to do world building over several books. You don't have to tell all the story in the first one. And you can continue to build these characters. And like I said with the Tourist Trap, continue to build the town into, what you want it to look like eventually. Same main characters, deeper development. You can do your fun side characters. The second book in Tourist Trap, the owner of the antique store, which is next door to my coffee shop / bookstore, which Jill owns, he started out a little heavyweight, a little overweight, always wore the same black suit, threadbare shirt underneath. That's what Josh looked like. I have Josh in my head. Until, and this happens many books later, Mandy comes into his life, and all of a sudden he's wearing polos and color and jogging and losing weight and doing all those things because that's what you do when your life changes a little bit. And so I was able to take that character and move him a little bit. It's definitely easier to advertise. You all know the sell-through issue. With the fact that I'm hybrid, I have most of my books are through Kensington, which is not a big 5, but it's not a small press either. It's kind of in between there. They do the covers, they do the books, they make the pricing, they do all that kind of stuff. I don't have that kind of control over things. But they've been good about looking at self-publishing and taking the things that are working for self-published authors and bringing them into their thought process. So I think they're a little bit more flexible on things like this. Readers love series. You know, the big question I guess, oh, it's a mystery. Oh, do you have the first in series? And usually that answer is I don't have to. I just sold out of the first in series. So the response is, no, but you could read it as a standalone and go back. And it's like, I don't like that. I want where I was start at the beginning. So yeah. And the series works for both pantsers and plotters. I'm a pantser. It's just who I am. I've tried to be a plotter. I've read all the books. I've done all the questions. They make me crazy. And I just have to have a beginning. If I'm working in a series, like my next book I should start today is a Survivors book club series. I know who's playing, you know, the main character of those. I know which of my fun side characters I'm bringing in to be part of the group. I probably know who dies, and I know that there's kind of a theme around it. And with that one, I try to put a Sedona-based fun hiking place thing somewhere in the book. See, this is my plotting. It's like someone, and I'm thinking about doing this, and I've got a dog, and you know, and that's how I plot. I heard Jim Butcher and his then wife, Shannon, talk to this romance group again. And I didn't know who Jim Butcher was then, now I do. It's like, oh my God, Jim Butcher. He writes the Harry Dresden series. But his wife talked about having spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, 6 books into the series. A series she just started. She knows characters, she knows who's going to it. Now she was writing romance, so one set of main characters here, one set of main characters, but the world, she had all of that. She had all the points. And if she thought of something, she put it on the spreadsheet. It's like, oh my God, that would drive me crazy. I don't even know when they're going to end unless my publisher says, hey, we're not continuing the contract. And so it's like, oh, okay, it's going to end. Yeah. So that's why a series works. All right. Pros and cons of the series. The decisions you make in book 1 can affect the rest of the series. So make sure you're making the right decisions. Where it's the big ones. I mean, you can pick her up and move her, but if they're buying your book because it's set in Sedona, Arizona, and they like that because that's why they bought the first one, and you move her from Sedona to Alaska, they're not going to be happy and they're not going to pick up the next book. So you really have to think about, and Pantser, Gardner, I don't think about those so much the first series. And it has come back to bite me. I just finished writing my newest series. It's 3 books. I wrote them back to back to back with a couple books in between. And writing it that way gave me a whole different picture of what the arc is going to look like, you know? So, and had I known that the arc was going to go there, I might have changed some things here. And I did change some things here. Like I said something about dog, and it's throwaway lines you put in there that you think you'll never use, and it's your stupid subconscious telling you that this is going to be important, you know. And this Dalton's uncle came, you know, he did construction with him in high school. Well, Dalton was dropped off on the ferry. He doesn't know his family, and that's book 3 now, where he's finding out who his family was. But I have a freaking uncle I talked about in book 1. So what happened there? Unfortunately, poor Uncle Rick is dead, but it worked. I killed him off. Talking about killing off people. Readers like consistency and will point out when you go astray. There's a reason I have this book and that statement on the same slide. I like dogs. We have two. They're Keyshawn's. Before we had Keyshawn's, I had 2 Poms. They died the same month. It killed us. One was 14. He got attacked by the neighbor dog. One was 19, and he just said, Homer's gone. I'm out of here. I'm done. You deal with the cat, you know? And so I put Homer in one of my books because I was feeling it, you know? It was Tourist Trap series. He's owned by Edie. It's a side character. So he doesn't show up a lot. Then I get Tuesday Night Survivors Club, which is a bookstore owner who just survived cancer. Don't ever do it. It sounds like a great idea, but I have to talk everybody into it because it's like, oh, you know, George had cancer. I don't know if I want to. It's not about cancer, guys. It's about what you do afterwards. But, so she gets this dog because the dead lady had a dog to babysit, and his name's Killer. And he comes out of the thing and he's a Yorkie. Well, okay, cute idea, he's good, she loves the dog, everybody's happy. Until book 2, when I make Killer a Pom, because Homer was a Pom. And I didn't think about it when I was writing the book, because I'm just writing the book and writing the story and dog and blah, blah, blah. And I thought about it when I got my edits back, and I looked at it and went, yeah, he's based off Homer. Homer was a Pom, he's a Pom. Yeah, I'm busy. I'm working a full-time job at Enterprise. I'm doing these type of things. I'm going off on, you know, conferences on the weekend. I'm doing 2 series, 3 series. And I hit it again when, you know, page proofs come up, and it's like, no, I looked at that. This is definitely based on Homer. It's definitely a Pom. Because I remember thinking about it back then, and now it's like, nope, it's good. So I get the first reader email after they read it. It says, so how come you changed the dog from a Yorkie to a Pom? I saw it, my editor read it, you know, all these people who are supposed to be catching these things didn't catch the change. And maybe it's because they don't know dogs, but readers do. Especially readers who love their dogs. They know the different breed. So, book 3, first thing, it's like we're introducing Killer again. You know, he's a Yorkie, but he looks kind of like a Pom, and everybody thinks he's a Pom, but he's a Yorkie. So, Killer's a Yorkie. Anyway, doing the series makes it so much easier to plan out a new book. You don't have to think about it, you just need to know who you're going to kill, in my case, because I write cozy mysteries. You know, kind of what the theme is going to be. I usually do, you know, found family type stuff. And what in Tourist Trap, it's like what new business is coming to town. I also start them at the same place, like with the new series is set in Bainbridge Island. She starts on the ferry each book, the ferry between Seattle and Bainbridge. So that it was a big thing in the past, but now it's a kind of it's just a nice touchstone. In Tourist Trap, she starts each book with a business-to-business meeting because as part of that community, South Cove community, she runs the Chamber of Commerce. You know, Anne runs the bookstore, Anne does all these other, Anne solves mysteries. Names. This is a con. So many names. I lean towards James, John, Joey, Joe, J words. I like Shirley's. I have Shirley's in 2 books. 2 main side character Shirley's. So if I had a Excel sheet, I could do that, check that, make sure I'd have used the name before, but it happens. If sales are poor, series gets canceled and readers and the author are sad. That's what happened with my Farm to Fork series. If sales are good, you're writing a series you may not love anymore. You may want to stretch those author wings and figure out something else you want to do. And you're either under contract or you have a book that's selling, so you don't want to step away from it. Backlist for a long-running series can bring you in money if advertised well. I still make good money on my Tourist Traps backlist, and it's been out since 2014. So part of it is I made some good decisions on my contract because I was the E-First test, which that press, Lyrical Press, is now Lynn Press because I'm the only author on it, but it's still Lyrical Press. So the other thing is, don't be afraid of multiple formats. This is just more money in your pocket. Digital, print, audio, large print, sub-rights, translations, Greek serial. I just got paid for some Greek serialized books. They bought them to put in a newspaper. I understand the process, but they gave me money, I don't care. And going back and doing an origin story, starting at the beginning again. How did Jill show up? I did that mostly to put in newsletters because I was doing a newsletter builder at the time, and you need a free, here's your free story. But I emailed, I was running out of my own books that I own rights on, and so I emailed Kensington. I said, do you mind if I write, a novella on Jill and just give it away in a newsletter? She says, why would you do that? She said, you can do that, but we want it too. We'll buy it and we'll put it out. It's like, okay, that works. I think a lot of times people are afraid of audio. I did 2 on my own where I sent them off and had the same announcer, that's not the word, but reader, that's not the word either, audio person. I had the same one who had the series when it was in Kensington's hands. And then she had a publication people who are editing people, I don't know what they're called. But so I paid both of them, and then I had the whole rights to it. But I just sold one to Podium, and Podium picks up, self-published. They like Kindle first, but and that was so much easier because all I had to do was get the manuscript ready and put into for a script. I didn't have to hire somebody. I didn't, They gave me all these options and people I could do, and I was like, I don't care what you do. I just want it out there. Decisions to make up front in a series, the main characters, obviously, what their arc is, what their thing is, their age, their ethnicity, their family ties. It doesn't come up as much in self-published, but in traditional, if you want to write outside your ethnicity, it won't sell to a publisher. Had this great idea of, this lady who was she was illegal, but she didn't know she was illegal because her parents came over the border in Idaho and then they died because it's snowy and it was, so they died, and this woman found the baby before she died, and she took her in as her own. And her husband had just died, so it worked, and my agent said, you can't do that because of own voices. It's like, I want to write this woman's story. She says, you can't, you're not Venezuelan. It's like, I could try, But anyway, family ties, the location, even if fictional. I'll write a fictional place. It's so much easier. Even if it's by somewhere, and you have it in your head that it's somewhere. That way your loyal readers aren't emailing you and say, did you know Main Street isn't one way? It's like, yes, but in my version, it is. If you're doing any magic, I've got a couple books that are magic based, including this novella-based series that I'm completely on my own. The reason it's novella is because my contract allows me to release novellas without going through Kensington. So that's why I did it. But you have to have your magic rules. She's a medium, she sees ghosts. She lives in New Orleans, where her family's from, and they were a bunch of grifters, but they're good grifters. So it is what it is. Make sure you know what POV. I think, and you guys might have a better feel for this. I feel like first person is kind of taking over the world right now, or the reading world. And maybe it depends on your genre. First person, third person. I write in both, but first person is really interesting. Tone of the series, is it going to be light? Is it going to be funny? I was going to say, one of the things that people always challenge me on is, stay in your series, stay in your lane. So if it's a cozy mystery set in California, that's the lane, And you don't do cozy mystery set in California and then cozy mystery set in New Orleans and then cozy, and try to call it a series. One, you can't bring all those people together, but maybe you can. And that is less of a rule now, but the one that always gets me is, first book is Discovery of Witches. Has anybody read this? No, you guys are missing out. It's so good. Okay, Discovery of Witches. It's an AMC series. It's not far off, except for the character looks different in my perspective. Her first book she was a reluctant witch. She didn't have any powers. Her powers were all over the place, so she pushed them away, and she was studying. She was a historian in Oxford, and she runs into a vampire. So there's vampires, witches, and demons in this world. Okay, great, loving it, fun, eating it up, everything. Second book, they go back to historic England. So it's historical. It's like, what? Modern day historical. Then she goes back, you need to stay in your lane. You need to figure out what you want to do about from there. Start a series Bible. You need to do, and see, I'm going to talk about this later too. And if you have weird names, figure out don't do them just because they're cute. Figure out how to pronounce them, because if you go audio, people are going to ask, and then you're going to have to figure it out. Where am I at?
You're over time.
I'm over? Okay. I will start talking faster. We'll just go through these. This is what I just talked about. Change genre or subgenre during the series. Jump from genre or subgenre between series. My tourist trap she's a bookstore owner. My Survivor series, she's a bookstore owner, and then I throw in witches. Some places the witches sell really well. Tennessee, they're not selling as well because people go, is this like witchcraft? It's like, no, it's like Harry Potter. Oh, I hate Harry Potter. It's like, it's like, maybe you would like this one. There's no witchcraft in it at all, yeah. Don't switch POV between books. Don't call your dog by a different breed, which we talked about. The cover issues may not be under your control if traditional, but this is the best cover I've had in a long time. And it just fits the group. The survivors group is all one color, so they keep them all together. This is my newest cover, my newest series. I just finished writing the 3-book series. It releases in June. It's a great cover. It's different for a cozy mystery, but it's good. Dissect your favorite book. Figure out how your favorite writer who writes series take one piece. Like, how does she introduce her main characters each time? Because it can't be the same. She has to do it because somebody's going to pick up book 10 and they need to know who Rourke and Eve are. But how do they do it? Listen or read a long series. Jim Butcher, how does the author intros work? The main characters. How does the world develop? What does the author tell you about the story world to set you in the book if you're a first-time reader and you start in the middle? Figure out what other people do and steal it as well. Everybody else does. Read regional cookbooks, and I don't mean steal in a bad way, but don't plagiarize, but steal the concepts. Regional cookbooks are a really good way to get that flavor, that taste, that feel in, especially my New Orleans series, I do that. Go to Airbnb websites or Zillow and look at houses. That's always my go-to, is like, what would this house look like? What would it cost? Because would she be able to even afford it? Those type of things. Visit the area before writing. The Bainbridge one, if I hadn't ridden the ferry, I would have had issues. So I went and actually rode the ferry to figure out what they said, because I was wrong on a few things. You think you know what a ferry would be. You've been on other ferries, no. Travel website, local transit, do they have streetcars, do they have subway? Link, Seattle has a link. And a kid called it tracks, and I don't know why I did, but I did. Talk to people who live there. Shout out to your Facebook friends, historical websites, and museums. They all have stuff. Things to add to your books or website: maps, especially if it's a fictional town and you have your own little map and you can draw, or you have a friend who can draw. A tourist guide to the area. That's a nice little thing you can make up and pop in there, or just pop on your website to sell it, or just to sell the book. Here's the tourist area, especially if it's a fictional town. Historical or travel bits and a letter from the author. I always do a little letter from the author at the end of every book. And a photo gallery of your research on your website. People fall in love with your books, they're going to know what's going on with them. They're going to want to know. This is another witchcraft one, 6 Stunning Sirens. Make a series Bible right after writing book 1, series Bible. Names, eye color, where they live, where they went to college, because you're going to throw that out one day and then you're going to forget it. All those things. Don't freak out on details, but once you find something that wasn't on the list and you went looking for it, add it. Have the covers match the audiobook, sing narrator if possible, because readers don't like it when you change anything, including narrators. Don't expect the world on one series, contract for digital, hardback, paper, POD. Everywhere you can get another check off of this book, say yes. Don't expect to sell a book in an orphan series to another publisher. So many people say, they bought 2, and now I have book 3, and I want to send it to other people. It's like, they're not right. Your publisher killed it for a reason. You could probably write it, but your publisher killed it. Market you, not the series, not the book. You're the writer. I'm a cozy mystery writer, or at least I am today. My bookmarks over there, I used to do, here's my new book. Now it's Lynn Cahoon. And on the back, it has the different series. You need a website as soon as you have a product. I'm talking to the choir here. Use marketing that works for you. Don't worry about the rest. If you don't want to do TikTok, but everybody's selling on TikTok, well, maybe not everybody in your genre is selling it on TikTok. Don't forget about your backlist. The book didn't sell well to begin with. Keep pumping it. Make some release plans, and I'm a hybrid author. I think that's the way to go anymore, unless you get one of those huge book deals, is to be a hybrid author, have your self-publishing over here, have your traditional over here if you can get one. Because like I said, everywhere you can get a check, get a check. Planning the series, how many books? This New Orleans set series, it was supposed to be 4 books. So we're gonna do 4 books, 4 novellas, do this collection at the end. It was done, it was over. It sold well, and now I'm working on book 5. Again, a novella, and then I'll have to do 3 novellas, I'll have to do a collection again and whatever. So sometimes, even if you set up an end, slow your arc. If you're writing standalones, you have a full arc in 1 book. This one you're gonna slow, she's gonna grow, or he's gonna grow, but he's gonna grow over the room of your arc, not the others. Figure out tropes, figure out love triangles. How long does it take you to write? And this is more on planning your writing, which I can talk about another day. Add in extras, extra days, use a calendar. I have a paper calendar, I have a whiteboard calendar, I have Asana, I have my Google calendar, and it's all because they all track different things. Ta-da! What do you want to be? What do you want your legacy to be? You know? You don't have to write series, but I tell you what, they've been good to me. You know? So I'll leave you with that. Yes.